Radiant team's turn to ban. Ten seconds remaining. Dire team's turn to ban. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. Looks like someone disconnected. 5 seconds remaining.
Aw, come on.
Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. Radiant team's turn to pick. Dire team's turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Who could turn away from this battle? Dire team's turn to pick. Radiant team's turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Radiant team's turn to ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. You're using up your reserve time. Dire team's turn to ban. Radiant team ban. 10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Dire team's turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Radiant team's turn to pick.
Yeah.
10 seconds remaining.
Behold the horn of Magnus.
Dire team's turn to pick. Ten seconds left. Decided?
What?
5 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Radiant team's turn to pick.
What?
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
League's assassin.
Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. 10 seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. 10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Great, they're back. Radiant team's turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Ten seconds remaining. Dire team's turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Faceless Void.
Is you're seeing these dual lanes get run around a Darkseer, where Darkseer +1 is actually able to bully the safe laner and make him just constantly be last hitting under the tower. I feel like that's not going to happen here.
I feel like that's Shrine Dota, honestly. Like,
it absolutely is.
Just the fact that you can get a full free health and mana bar out of that. Actually, Bounty Rune picked up by the Void, and Magnus now in a bit of an awkward spot with no skewer.
Okay, let's not be too dumb here. Come on, there you go.
Tries for it, doesn't work out.
That was okay. Really when he did that skewer over the Bounty Rune, I was just like,
you know, you gotta go for it. You miss every shot you don't take. So I can appreciate the endeavor, but all the same here, not too much going to happen for the moment here. Magnus is probably your most likely first blood if we're just being realistic here. It just comes down to how the Sand King chooses to move, and right now he's got a win lace, and he's got a TP scroll.
Darkseer, you got those? Yeah, you're fine, you're fine.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got to wait out the stuns is the big thing here. If you
Yes.
get telekinesis during surge, then it's pretty much pointless.
So, are you surprised that they're now that the Darkseer dual lane is no longer a player? Are you surprised that they're sticking with the tri lane here down bottom? How early do you rotate out of this? I guess is the question.
It does get a little bit awkward because the more you pull, the more Darkseer can just double Iron Shell and push out under tower, and it makes Gabby's life a little bit more difficult. But all in all, as long as they keep good control over the lane and are also able to make sure that Gabby's farming comfortably, then I think they're fine until like level 3 when they want to definitely start putting more pressure on the OD.
You know, early on, it's not, you know, through a couple ways, not exactly a disaster scenario for the Puck here. You worry about Puck potentially just going down to the OD so much early on in lane.
A little bit vulnerable to do so, but Boombax has the potential to kind of man up as well with that Iron Shell. Yeah. Hopefully you get a Darkseer at level 3, and then you are able to go in and just bully your way in with the Wind Lace, with the Burrow Strike. You can close the gap, and then you just hope you do enough damage to bring them down first.
Look at this Boombax rotation. Is he going to try and come in here behind the Puck?
And if Nando is using his orb to farm, that is very realistic.
Yes.
That is a good possibility. But if he's being conservative about it, then there's no way they're going to find him.
Yeah, he's got to know that same thing's off the map right here.
Oh, this is ugly. It's ugly, bro.
He does it, and they know right away.
He has to jaunt.
Wow,
There's no actual way to do it any other way. In the end, still going to be first bullet split between the Sand King and the OD, and I'm almost positive you got the experience for that too.
Yep.
That PST. He's up to 300 experience per minute at this stage of the game, so he's doing pretty well.
Regeneration.
Yeah.
So pretty awkward read on that situation. He probably thought maybe the Sand King's jungling. Very common for just when you have such a weak offlaner like Magnus, it's very easy for the Disruptor to solo zone or the Sand King to get a bit greedy. But
yeah, I saw it. It was a little puzzling to me because I thought they had vision over. Oh, okay, that is a dire ward. Sure. All right, that makes a lot more sense. I thought Radiant had vision over which direction the Sand King left the lane from. Okay. No, so that that kind of adds up as the dire side now. You got yourself a little comfortable CS pad. Although 8 denies in the mid lane for a Puck is pretty good. He's giving as good as he gets. Apart from that first blood, he's doing very well in this mid lane against D.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why he was so susceptible to the gank. Is you have to have so much focus in this lane matchup. You have to just make every creep count. You can't let anything slide by. You really just have to kind of have a laser focus on this part of the map and nothing else. So. In the end, still doing all right for himself here in the mid lane. He gets his bottle at a decent time. It just gives Sand King a nice little start here. He's essentially the off-laner, and Hannah's in the jungle. I want to take note, though, of the item in DJ's Quick Buy. I have never seen a Helm of the Dominator Magnus, but I don't mind the idea.
HOD is the new drums, man. HOD is literally not a bad item on any hero. If you look at what you're getting, you compare HOD to other comparable value items, like you compare HOD to drums, to mech, to Vlad's, like it's so much better right now.
Absolutely. And you start off with a nice little like ring of regen or headdress, and you just give yourself a better lane start. It's like one of the best first items to pick up in almost any context. So. Yeah,
that's the other thing that we don't talk enough about with these 2 to 3K range items is the build-up is super important, and with the headdress aura early on, that's a big buff to the item.
Yeah, because in this position you're not worried about pushing up the waves. You're shockwaving it down anyways whenever the creep wave comes to you, so you're just happy to stay alive and stay active.
I don't think either team is really unhappy with how things have gone so far, even with the first blood being given up by Nando in the mid lane.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably fair. Right now, Darkseer is getting himself in a good position to start getting more active than he was before. Disruptor maybe hasn't been pulling as actively as he could have, whereas he kind of like under-farmed at this stage. He gets the Flying Query, gets the boost, and hopefully can get a lot more from there. But overall I think everybody's doing just
yeah. But he's going to have that level advantage over the 2 Radiant side supports that have both been down here in that side. Yeah, the onus is on them to get something done here. I don't think they can afford to just stay static. And at the same time, I don't know what this mid lane rotation here is going to accomplish.
Well, if they can kind of just get a good opening with the Dream Coil, which should be coming out with this wave as long as they don't soak it, then they still have an opportunity here. But it is kind of limited unless the OD is wasting as a Prism. Just one of those things where you just have to be patient about it. I think this isn't the kind of rotation you make, and you sit here for 30 seconds, get fed up, and walk away. This is you can kind of
and that's the kind of thing. That's why I'm a little concerned. That's the kind of thing that's disastrous for your two supports that are both sitting on level 3 at 6 minutes. And the Observer Ward and mid sees the Nyx Assassin, so there's absolutely no way. They even have the Sanking sitting behind just in case. And I mean, meanwhile, your Juggernaut now is getting solo XP out of his lane, but he's getting pushed back halfway to his own tier 2 tower here by the Ion Shell.
And in the meantime, we see Faceless Void getting pretty much free farm here. He's going to be going for a Dominator of his own. And just that attack speed alone, and the fact that you can put the creep in the Chronosphere is really strong. You're going to see that combo on mid here. Nice little Burrow Strike, and nice actual Waning Rift coming out, putting a lot of damage on both the OD and Sanking, but it's going to be the Dire to trump this one as they go 3-0.
Wow.
And it looks like even Push won't be able to clean up the job. He gets a regen rune, but
he's got to be careful. That's just a disastrous scenario for the two Radiant supports. Going to put them even farther behind than they already were in the game.
And they shrine right back up. It's like it never happened.
Yeah, that's possible to overstate just how impactful that change has been. And even as we'll talk, I'm sure, as the game goes on, the value of the tier 3 towers now is so much greater now with that change.
Oh, Omni Slash comes out. Needs a little bit more time on the spin. That surge gonna allow Hannah to just head back over to his own shrine and take a bath.
Take a bath, huh? Is that the line now? All right.
Something
all right.
along those lines. Lumi prefers to shower with is for teammates, but I don't feel as good about that one.
Wow. I try not to shower with my teammates. We're just gonna leave that there.
From there, we got. I mean, nobody's getting blinks anytime soon, right? Like that's the awkward thing about this laning stage. Just like the progression is kind of slow. Everybody's just kind of doing their thing. The only ones that are getting farm are obviously the ones that are being prioritized. Void's doing really well for himself.
Yeah, but look at this now. This is really, really good by Clutch Gaming to try and pick on the two underleveled Radiant side support. Even with the Juggernaut here, not clear that it's going to be enough today.
Actually going to be the spin that almost finishes off Boombast, but he is going to be able to get the magic stick and end up being right-clicked down at the end. But there's plenty of time for Hannah to take up a double kill here on those supports and make it a very worthy exchange.
That is Dota 101, man. You see a weakness on the other team and you just move to exploit it. Oh boy. I mean, support play is just almost linearly growing in importance throughout the last 6 or 7 iterations of the meta. You just can't afford to have your supports underleveled when you hit that 12 to 15 minute mark.
Especially here like Nyx Assassin. I've always felt like Nyx Assassin is one of those heroes that the faster he can go, the more resources you take away from your opponents. They have to get sentries earlier against the Vendetta. They have to bulk up more against your early burst damage. But this is a level 4 Nyx Assassin who's not going to get the tome because Rubik's already queued it up.
Yep.
And it just means that he's going to be very little in terms of initiation. He can follow up very nicely. Mana Burn's going to be strong this game, as we've mentioned, but it's actually going to be the quick kill on the Juggernaut. And
oh boy,
Clutch Gamers is just raking it in.
Yeah, that's the one thing that you absolutely cannot afford to have happen.
And another one. Oh boy. Brutal. This is just really bad. At this point in time, you have 2 supports stuck at level 4 up against 3 level 8 opponents, and it's just going to get worse from there.
That's just lack of recognition. You really ought to know where those heroes are at this point.
Not much
really tough for them for sure. But
all
the same, you have some comeback potential. You have this Magnus who's been in farming mode, but we'll have his RP online pretty soon.
But that's kind of the other issue is now you're stuck with underleveled supports, so they're going to need somebody to create for them, and your Magnus has gone first time HSD, so his blink is going to not be online anytime soon. You got to ask. I mean, if they really are kind of all in right now on Nando getting that blink up at a good time and making huge play.
I mean, you don't need the blink to get an initiation like this, though. They're going to be skewering in. They're going to be putting some damage. And it's an Invis rune that will sneak them right away. No problem at all. It's going to be silence action, even a courier. Stun coming out, but in the end, it's just going to be a few hits coming in from Abing and a nice Burrow Strike across onto 2, bringing Rubik down once again. Now it's going to be the courier that gets hit pretty hardcore. There's an RP going across. but they're still doing way too much damage on the Dire side with these Ion Shells, with this Pro Strike, and that's going to be the death of the Magnus, one of the big players here. Flips back on to Gabby, makes it a very good fight for the Dire as we see a 3-for-1 in total.
Yeah, Hana's just owning. Like that was absolute ownage from the Darkseer over the last 3 or 4
He's got
minutes
mech now.
Yeah,
like it's
good
like
Lord.
That laning phase didn't even bother him at all. Nando, nice little pick off here, one more hit and no restoratives for Fly Solo, but even still he has to pop the coil again just to try to get away from this one.
Yeah, the disruptor pickoff, that's fine. I think this game looks just grim for the Radiant side. I mean, they need. Nando's got about 200 more gold with a Blink Dagger, and they need him to do something special. Period.
Yeah, I mean, Armel's got a Veil, Hana's got a mech. They just have all the items that they need at this point in time to just absolutely devastate. Even, I love this momentum build from the Void. Abing is going for his Shadow Blade after his Dominator. He's going to have so much natural attack speed. He's going to have his Bash maxed out. He could just go on anybody.
Yeah, it fits so well when you look at how that early Veil pickup on the OD enables the 4 other heroes on the team, and you look at the fact that Darkseer's mech is now going to enable you just to sustain all over the map. And even you add on top of it the fact that the Void gives some utility to the team push with his HOD aura. This is just what I meant earlier when I'm talking about just playing fast, your team tempo, just getting on that opponent's side of the map and never leaving.
Yeah, it's not about one hero snowballing here. It's about the team as a whole lifting each other up on their shoulders and moving forward extremely quickly.
Oh no, Nando, you can't afford. He just got his Blink Dagger. This is the time that they have so much invested in making plays.
He might be able to get out of this one here. No Shrine to help him out, but just pops everything and is going to be able to.
Does have to spend the Dream Coil to do that, but yeah, totally worthwhile. He couldn't afford to be off the map now.
Yeah, well, he's got the dagger. He'll be able to unveil that maybe with another Dream Coil. It's a short enough cooldown that he will be able to get that up and running very shortly. But yeah, this is just situations they can't let themselves get caught into.
Yeah, that's actually a really nice steal on Rubik to have, the Astral Prism.
Yeah, for sure. It's, I mean, you can use it for farming if you really feel like it. You don't have the same spam ability because you don't have the aura, the passive from the OD himself, but it's still really strong defensively and offensively.
Man, oh man. I mean, there's just so much pressure on Nando here. I just don't see, other than him, I just don't see how they start a fight. Like their entire game plan right now revolves around the puck.
All right, and he is actually going to be queuing up a Dagon here, so really just looking for any kill he can get.
Yeah,
and kills being come back very rapidly when you're down this much in terms of net worth. So
yeah, that's the it's on me, guys. I got this kind of build. He understands. His team just needs him to go ham.
Well, we'll see how well that works out for them, as we do see it's going to be Boom Boss pushing out the bottom lane pretty heavily to get that Blink Dagger up soon, but Lumic trying to punish it with the Vendetta movement. The newer Vendetta having this longer duration, you can kind of just reach a little bit further. You can kind of just fish for these opportunities, and
it's a big quality of life improvement if you're playing Nyx in a pub, and more importantly at this level of play, it makes it so that Nyx's angles into fights, his ganks are that much less obvious. That was the problem before level 1 Vendetta, that they were always going to know where you're coming from. Now this is a nice little fight picked down.
Oh no, the Static Storm shuts down Magnus. Not going to be able to get the RP out at all. The mechanism counteracts a lot of the incoming damage, and you can even get the bashes and the Centaur stuff onto the Nyx. 5593 will live for once to tell the tale, but it's just been a rough ride for them. Perfect Static Storm. Fly Solo completely turns it around.
I feel like this all got started as the Omni Slash goes off the top lane. They might finally get a high value kill here on Hana. But they've got the lockdown. Oh, the comes in. Okay, well,
they do get him in the end. Nice little action there from the puck, but he has to go for another offensive jaunt and puts him in a rocky spot as the creep wave does see him. He does have the dagger, does not have the TP, at least for a little bit here. Let's see how long you can wait it out.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
And he should be good.
Puck is that. Okay, he's got the mana now. He's out of there.
So
nice guess by the Disruptor, unfortunately.
They find themselves back in the game to a marginal extent, but
they got a ways to go yet. This is tough.
Yeah, I mean, they already had that heavy loss down bottom, and they just get one little gimme to try to get them back in gear, but they still are very dependent on a lot of factors coming into play. I'm not fully convinced on like this. I guess what third arcane boot's going to be coming out for Execration. I feel like while you do want to spam out Shockwave a lot for TJ, I think because you went for this Dominator build,
yeah,
you probably just need to go for the blink straight after.
Blink, right? You have to have something to take the pressure off the puck. Because look at that. I mean, he's having to use this is the second time that he's had to use his coil in an effort to save himself, and there it doesn't even work. That's not his fault. That's just the other team knowing that they can afford to full commit on this puck because the other heroes. Right, exactly.
Brutal, but that's just the way the game is shaping up right now. At least there aren't too many objectives being taken just yet. There are some things coming out on the mid-tier 1, so that most likely will be falling shortly. I mean, as a whole, there is still some good wards coming up from Execration. It's just whether or not that will be enough to see 2 Invis heroes rotating in and just surrounding this tower and this key objective.
I think you really need to be prepared to compete based on the map right now. You absolutely cannot get into a fight without Nando being in position and involved. Yeah, I think this is the right decision by Gabby here to try and kind of live on the other side of the map, get what farm he can, try and get back into this game somehow.
Tough spot all around, but you do see just this full smoke, this full aggression,
and now you're sitting in this position where Boombax has his blink before your Magnus.
Oh, and they have actually a great opportunity for a full combo. 4-man Corsair with the epicenter, Static Storm, and Kinetic Field wiping them out, and that's going to be 4 heroes incinerated. It's going to be Juggernaut spinning away. He's not going to get wiped out, but what can you do to counterplay that when you just get the perfect execution from Clutch Gamers?
Yeah, that as they say, is how you draw it up. That's absolutely perfect, Dota. It doesn't hurt, of course, to be out to this kind of lead, but that is one side's heroes having the tools that they need, and the other side not.
Plain and simple, there's just completely outgunned at this point in time, and there's just no response. Tier 1 and 2 fall in the mid lane and just open it up. Very difficult to come back from. At this point, this is where you actually think about buying like an 18-minute gem with True Sight, where you're you have like 3 Invis here, or 2 Invis heroes if you look at Sandstorm and Shadowblade, but just getting the full vision advantage and making it so that Execration don't know what's lurking around the corner, especially with nighttime coming here at 20 minutes. I think like you can just dominate the map.
And a disruptor on a team that's ahead with a vision advantage is just, it's one of the ultimate hard punishes in the game. Like, you're never going to be able to cleanly disengage for a fight if you're Execration.
And you've got a decent carrier in the Darkseer who now has both Mechanism and Pipe. I mean, all of this damage that you're looking for is just going to fall onto the little bubble of the Pipe of Insight. Like,
yeah, you start to ask yourself now, let's suppose you just give Magnus a Blink Dagger. Right now, just give it to him. Doesn't matter. Because now on the Dire side, there's just plenty of items to mitigate that damage.
Very painful. Like, they just nowhere near the tier of damage output they need to really be online in any capacity. I mean, yeah, you'll have Manta style soon on Juggernaut, and power is nice for him. That's pretty much, that has been maxed out for a little while here, but in the end, even if you get the perfect initiation, if Darkseer is there with his counterplay, like, it almost might just completely turn it back the other way.
And even on an individual hero basis, you're starting now, OD's going to have his Hurricane Pike here, flying out on the courier pretty soon. You're losing the ability even to initiate on a single core that might be out of position.
That's where it gets very scary, when you really don't have any options left. Tier 1 tower given up for free up top, and PJ farming under a ward. Luckily doesn't get caught out immediately, but still a very dicey spot. They have their own up top, and even with that vision, they really can't do anything to stop these towers from falling.
And it really is. This game is just, it's a prime example of why we spend, when we break down these games, why we spend so much time talking about and thinking about these early game rotations. Because in this meta right now, when you get in a situation when both your supports are behind in levels, it handicaps so much of what you want to do.
And Sentry Ward scouting out Lumic here, but they're just going to make sure they get the full disengage. As long as that TP is successful. If that TP gets interrupted, the Void opens up. But as it is, both disengage from both sides, it looks like. And back to the status quo, which favors now Clutch Gamers quite significantly.
I mean, do you want to do something crazy as Execration and try and like force a Roche and just try and get your RP in the pit? I mean, it just feels like you have to. It feels like you have to do something here as Execration, because you're not looking at a lineup with like some kind of huge late game advantage.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think punishing a clear objective when you have a really good idea of where CG is moving is important, and I think that's probably going to be the only way back into this. They can't just wait for CG to walk up to their high ground with the Aegis and everything. The problem is right now their vision is kind of lackluster. Right now CG are pretty well spread out, and intel on them is very scarce, so they don't actually know what the next move from CG is. As obviously they've been methodically taking these towers after towers, but after this tier 2 falls, like what's next?
And a little bit of hesitation too. I thought that they were just going to rotate right up and try and pick up that. No, they just don't have any kind of vision enough to make this happen. Here's the Roche pit attempt.
There's
that I was
no
talking
way
about.
this gets done in time. They have Empower, but it's still going to take so long.
I mean, but this is your Hail Mary, right? You just have to try and force a fight with your Magnus Blink Dagger, make something happen, because you don't have the kind of lineup where you can farm yourself back.
Really tough position. Roche down to half HP with tier 2 already gone. Lines drawn. Smoke movement. Or Magnus has to be the gatekeeper here. He has to keep them out of the pit at all costs. It's too late. They're already in. Back combo inside with the
what?
OD ultimate. There's just nothing left in the tank here. Gonna try to manage to dodge the flinch. Will fail to do so. Gets caught in the Chronosphere and gets dropped down. Nothing doing, man. That is gonna be Execration take it down a notch once more, and a Roshan given for free to Clutch Gamers.
Like, I get what you're trying to do with Magnus picking up the top lane, but DJ isn't even in position to respond there. You gotta have that clock ticking in your head, guys.
Just too much at this point. Clutch Gamers, they know exactly what's happening this game. They have a really good read on every movement. Execration, it's not just a...
What surge is this?
I gotta tell you, man, this Clutch Gamer squad was a team that I didn't know much about coming into these qualifiers, and they dropped their first game. Yeah, okay, fine, it is to Faceless, but you're saying to yourself, all right, well, why'd this team get the invite? And then they come back in their last 2 games and do this. I mean, these are convincing wins over 2 teams that we know have some talent.
Absolutely. They've been able to showcase their skill in a lot of the recent online cups in SCA, and now just showing it for all it's worth here against Execration.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because it to me, it's been evident. If you look at some of the qualifier selections and even some of the things that determine the main the direct invite, it's been clear to me that Valve is looking a little bit more at online play, and I think that's really important for the health of the scene.
Oh, absolutely. So, especially for some of these regions that don't get to hit the lens nearly as often enough.
Right.
So at this point, even an anti-Tinker Ward being dropped down by Dire just in case you get some tree action from the puck or anybody else trying to keep the lanes pushed out. Because, I mean, that's the mindset you have to be in at this point in time, right? Like, you have to be worried, you have to be thinking, okay, well, the only way they can win the game right now is if they have backdoor protection down. They need creeps to do that. Let's keep waves rolling. And so it's a pretty good prediction for Clutch Gamers to realize that Nando's going to be up here doing this exact thing, and that's something they can very well punish.
No, it's exactly what CNC failed to do in that marathon game earlier. You recognize the other team. The pressure right now is all on the other team. You know, we are not the ones that need to force the action. We just need to make sure that we're covering all our bases.
Indeed. So they're not actually going to be able to get the fake off despite pretty much the perfect vision setup, but they are moving the right direction here with some Invis. Another Invis rune, and along with that, the Shadow Blade can allow them to kind of go forward here and find out a Nyx Assassin under their own Sentry Ward. Who will they stun? How many will they get? Just the Nyx for now, and it's going to be the Void Chrono that trumps out the RP and allows the Tank King to go in for the full combo. I can't even read off the spells fast enough. They just comboed up perfectly. Everybody's ready to rock and roll. Full guns loaded. And that is just a hopeless exchange for Execration. In fact, even desperation now, as it's going to be the Juggernaut who gets picked off. First off with a Centaur's hoof stomp. And now going in with a 4-step blink. And Sand King picking him up.
You got to this is where you give serious thought to calling it. It's you gave it some effort, and I know there was a crazy game earlier where you held the 18-3 kill advantage, and the other team almost came back. But I just look at this Execration lineup and where they are right now, and the tools just aren't there.
It's not just like 18-3 and what 60, 70 minutes.
No, the 18-3 game, there was a farmed Invoker and Ember Spirit on the other team. There's nothing like that on the side of Execration.
There really isn't, and it's in the 26-minute span that we're looking at this massive advantage, and it's just continues to get worse.
I'm deliberately not looking at the net worth graph. Oh my god. Yeah, no, don't show me that. Don't show me that.
Oh, nice double burrow. Very nice link forward with the vacuum as well. No OD ultimate, and he does get caught by the reverse polarity, but even then he's still alive and well, gets held up by the Guardian Greaves and goes back in with the surge. He's going to be able to bring down the Nyx Assassin with the Carapace only hitting at the last moment. They will take on him down, but he's coming right back up. Aegis of the Immortal bringing him back into the fray and focusing down on their next target. At least for now, it looks like they do want to make sure that they protect their advantage, though. The comeback mechanics are a little strong here, and they have to play back a bit. So Nando pulls him back. They pull back Nando, and the Burrow Strike might be able to seal this one. If the Yules isn't out fast enough, he uses it, but he can't jaunt away.
When you look at, just on the side of Clutch Gamers, so much sustain, so much control. They have the ability, both within fights, and then the ability to just reset and come back in. Man, oh man. That's tough. They're gonna have mid-racks here pretty easily.
Most definitely. That's gonna be kind of the beginning of the end to an extent. I mean, the first step of the three-step process, and with reverse polarity being just long enough of a cooldown, they actually might look for the second lane. They have Cronus here. They don't have to be worried about RP, and they have BKB backed up. I mean, there's not much to fear.
If you're, I mean, let me ask you, do you think if you're Execration right now, are you second-guessing your draft?
That's a tough call.
I
think Execution.
I don't think so. I think it's just more the early game.
Yeah, maybe the Nyx support pick.
Okay.
He might second guess that because that clearly didn't accomplish much at all this game. As we see, just
I mean, just
pain.
Yeah,
pain and
wombo combo.
Fully visualized
combo
before your eyes. Graphic 18+. Please look away. But
you gotta believe Execration is just gathering themselves mentally, talking about what went wrong. You know, it's a long event. They got a lot more games to play. Yeah, and this is a team that has some experience. They're down their superstar player out there. That's obviously a glaring hole that they got to talk about replacing. But these are guys that know how to get it done, and especially DJ was, arguably the best player in the region last year.
And is Eclipse stolen by Rubik? It's not cool now, no. Okay. He refreshes the spell steal.
Sure, why not?
Big RP coming out. It's going to be a very nice Burrow Strike, though. And though the Carapace is pretty strong in this environment, the BKBOD is stronger. But yeah, I really do feel like maybe the Nyx sticks out as a kind of odd pick. They'll look back at the replay, look at the vision game for the early on, and that will be something that they second guess quite a bit as far as why they didn't see certain roaming plays coming. But as a whole, it comes down to execution. It comes down to Clutch Gamers just being the better team in this best of one.
Yeah, it's just super promising things to see out of them when you talk about a matchup that was pretty even in paper coming in. I mean, this is not a game where you necessarily expect either side to dominate, and Clutch Gamers